Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm gonna review another classic on the Commodore Amiga, Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night. And let's go! Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night is an action game combined with strategy and role-playing elements. It was developed and published by Mindscape, and it was released in 1991 for the Commodore Amiga, and in 1992 they released a version for the PC-DOS. The game takes place in the medieval times. A very sacred time is upon the people, a time that descends once every 1,000 years. It's the season of the Moonstones. Danu, the spirit of the moon, has turned his attention away from the activities of the cosmos to those of the earth. And in this time the gods will bestow the greatest warrior of the land with the highest gift possible for a mortal, taking place in the ranks of the gods for all eternity. But first such a warrior would have to prove himself. They have to travel the land and find the 4 keys to enter the Valley of the Gods. 1 key is hidden in each of the 4 territories, in one of the 6 lairs. Each lair belongs to the resident creatures of that terrain, and they protect their treasures with all forces necessary. If a knight manages to collect the 4 keys, then he can enter the Valley of the Gods and challenge the Guardian. Defeating the Guardian will grant the knight with a Moonstone. A moonstone is keyed to a phase of the moon. Only if the knight arrives at Stonehenge with the right moonstone at the right moon phase, the quest can be completed and the knight would have proven himself worthy. The druids of the land sent their best knights on the quest of the Moonstones. Sir Godbear from the Misty Moors, where the great tribes of vicious Troughs and Trough Beasts live. Sir Richard from the Northern Wastelands, home to giant Bellogs that inhabit this great rocky territory. Sir Geoffrey from the Great Forest, home of the cunning Red Man. And Sir Edward from the Wetlands, where half-plant, half-humanoid mudmen and trolls stalk for human prey. Since each knight is ready to do anything in their power to be the first to complete the quest, duels are on the agenda, and there are no rules. Also, be warned of the dreaded Black Knights, who hate the druids for they are heretics. They will track down and slay any who participate for the quest of the Moonstones, especially if they are close to completing the quest. These knights are renowned for their ability to raise their skills during combat. One last advice: if you still want to go on the quest, if you see a big shadow heading your way, run and don't look back. You don't want to know what creature is concealed behind that shadow. Or it might be the last thing you're gonna find out. So now that we know the background story, let's talk about the game in more detail. At the beginning of the game you can choose between 1 to 4 players. If you want, you can turn off the gore in the game. Then you have the practice mode, which is basically a duel against the second player. And finally, start game. Now you can choose your knight and rename him if you want. Like already mentioned, depending on which knight you choose, you're gonna start in a specific terrain. I always pick the red knight just because he looks like a badass to me. And he's gonna be known as Syrup, the Slimy One. Each knight starts in his village with 5 lives, 10 throwing daggers, a longsword, padded armor, 20 hit points, 10 gold pieces and 1 point on each ability: strength, constitution and endurance. The more strength you have, the more damage you make on enemies. More constitution brings more hit points, and the higher your endurance, the further you can move during a day. The game is turn-based and all movements happen on the map screen. During your turn you can move with your knight, check your inventory by pushing the spacebar. A turn ends after you interact with another icon, like visiting a city, entering a lair or attacking another knight. The turn also ends when your knight used up all his endurance of that day. Or if you want, you can end your turn earlier by pushing the letter E on the keyboard. Every time your character comes in contact with an icon that you can interact with, that icon will start to glow. To enter or encounter an icon, press the fire button. If your character is in contact with more than one icon, then a small box appears on the screen that lets you choose the icon that you want to interact with. During the loading times, the game gives you infos. Some of them are helpful, like red men become stronger as the moon gets fuller, and some aren't helpful at all, like the gods pause for a moment. The lairs are your main target in the game for 3 reasons. Number 1. You need the 4 keys to enter the Valley of the Gods, and those can be only found in the lairs. Number 2. Killing all the monsters of a lair brings you an experience point, and you need those to increase your abilities. And number 3. Treasures. In lairs you find gold, healing potions, magic items and magic scrolls. But of course, first you have to defeat the monsters. There are 6 different kinds of monsters protecting the lairs. The trolls are big, blue, hairless and mean, armed with a huge club. They either smack you from one side of the screen to the other or smash you into pieces. They are fast. They live in the wetlands and they are one of the strongest enemies in the game. The mudmen also live in the wetlands. Nobody knows what those creatures are. Some believe it's some kind of an intelligent flesh-eating plant, but nobody knows for sure. Don't get fooled by their slow movements. They can quickly tie you up with their roots and squeeze out your life. Fighting a mudman can be extremely dangerous, since their main tactic is overpowering their prey and drag them down into the mud. You can only dodge this attack by walking up or down. Everything else, like blocking or a counterattack, will fail. And it doesn't matter how strong your character is or what armor he has, this is a one-hit kill. The Troughs are a humanoid race who hate humans. They live in great tribes and can be found almost everywhere except the wetlands. Depending on the region, the Troughs have different weapons, since they adapted to the land. The Troughs from the Great Forest have axes. The Troughs from the Northern Wastelands have hammers. And the Troughs from the Misty Moors have spears. Troughs are skilled warriors. They are fast and make good damage. Be careful when fighting Troughs from the Misty Moors. Their spears have a slightly longer range than your sword, an advantage that they're gonna use against you whenever they can. Also, the Trough Beasts live in the misty moors. They were raised by Troughs on human flesh. The Trough Beasts look like a combination of a lion, a boar and a unicorn, and they fight like a bull, storming at you with full speed and spike you with their horn. The Ratmen are a small, hairy, carnivorous race which lives in the trees of the Great Forest. They are not very strong, but are always found together in large numbers and are exceedingly agile. They are often referred to as moon devils because they seem to grow stronger as the moon gets fuller. During a full moon, those creatures also carry a deadly disease, and there is a chance that your knight gets infected during a fight. If that happens, drink a healing potion or go to a healer quickly. Or else, well, you don't have to worry about the Moonstones anymore. Last but not least, there are the Bellocks. Bellocks are vicious humanoids with huge jaws, long teeth and powerful limbs. Legend has it that Math, the biggest wizard in the land, magically engineered these beasts in his youth to act as guards for his tower. But the experiment failed and they have escaped and multiplied ever since. They live in the northern wastelands and are one of the most feared creatures. In a fight, they slap their opponent with their huge hands, normally resulting in a free flight of 2 to 3 meters. They also grab their opponent and shake them unconscious. If they succeed, they celebrate with a little snack. Bon appetit! But their favorite tactic is to jump and squish their prey, and this attack also can't be blocked or anything. This is an instant death, same thing like with the Mudmen. There are 2 things left to be mentioned about the lairs. Number 1, after a lair is looted, it disappears from the map. And number 2, the lairs adapt to your knight. The stronger he gets, the harder it is going to be looting a lair. Which means, for instance, instead of fighting against 1 Trough at a time, you face 2 Troughs at the same time. If your knight is even stronger, then you will fight 3 Troughs at the same time. It's the same thing with the Trough Beasts and also with the Trolls. And believe me, 3 Trolls at once is a suicide mission. In the case of the Ratman, since you start fighting against 2 at the same time, it also increases. 3 at the same time and 4 at the same time. Now I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I remember that it could go up to 5 Ratmen at the same time, but like I said, I'm not sure. Only the Bellocks and the Mudmen don't increase in that way. You fight more after another, not 2 or 3 at the same time. I guess since both monsters have an attack that can kill your knight instantly, which would be really unfair. Beside the monsters in the lairs, there are of course the other knights who try to complete their quest, but only if you play the game with other players. The game always starts with 4 knights, and depending on how many players are playing the game, it determines the number of black knights. So 4 players, 0 black knights, 3 players, 1 black knight, and so on. The black knights are for the most part identical to the other knights. They start also with 5 lives, they get better weapons and armor during the game, and they also increase their abilities. But they don't enter lairs since they don't want to find the keys. But they want to stop everyone who searches after them. Black Knights are very good fighters. They have the same speed and fighting techniques as your knight. And they can be annoying and a real pain in the ass. The last creature beside the Guardian of the Valley of the Gods that can ruin your day is the dragon. The dragon flies over the land and is always on the lookout for the next traveler to slay and plunder. This creature is huge, strong and breathes fire. The dragon can only attack you if he touches your icon during your turn, or if it's forced by magic to attack you, which I'm gonna explain later. If a dragon defeats a knight, he will take all his gold pieces and one magic object. Unless the knight lost his last life, then it will take everything. It is almost the same thing after a fight between two knights, but the winner can only take one thing from the loser, either the gold or an item. Except, of course, if the knight lost his last life, then you can take whatever you want. Slaying the dragon will bring you 2 experience points, and all the gold and items that he accumulated so far. Depending on how many players are playing the game, you need more or less experience points to increase your abilities. In a 3 or 4 player game, you need 1 experience point. In a 2 player game, 2, and in a 1 player game, you need 3 experience points. You get no experience points fighting other knights, 1 point for every cleared lair, 2 points for the dragon, and 3 points for the guardian. A knight will start to flicker when his hit points reach 10 points or below, indicating that he's almost done. Knights also restore a couple of hit points after every turn, but it is completely random how many hit points you get. If your knight has only 1 or 2 lives left, you can go back to your home village and get an extra life for free. You can only do that 3 times in a game, and as long as your knight has less than 3 lives left. So after you earn some gold/treasures, you should visit one of the 2 cities to upgrade your equipment, for instance. There is Highwood in the Misty Moors and Waterdeep in the Wetlands. In Highwood you have a merchant, a tavern, a healer and the High Temple. The merchant sells weapons and armor, but he doesn't buy anything, and he always has the same items. You can buy throwing daggers, a broadsword, a claymore, a chainmail armor, a plate mail armor or a battle plate armor. The battle plate armor is the best armor in the game. In the tavern you can play a game called Dragon Dice for gold, of course. It is pretty simple, just place a bet ranging from 1 to 5 gold pieces and roll the 3 dragon dices. If one of the following combinations is rolled in any order, then the corresponding payback ratio is 1. A quick info, every knight can carry up to a maximum of 150 gold pieces. The healer, as we already know, can cure our knight if he is infected with the Redman disease. Then of course he can heal your knight, plus you can also buy extra lives. According to the manual, healing costs 10 gold pieces and an extra life costs 15 gold pieces. Which is not true. Everything costs 10 gold pieces. If your knight is infected or doesn't have his full hit points and you pay the healer 10 gold pieces, he heals your knight. If he's not infected and has all his hit points and you pay 10 gold pieces, you get an extra life. The healing potions work the same way. Paying a healer more than 10 gold pieces won't bring you any advantage, and paying him less than 10 gold pieces won't help you at all. The High Temple is the last building that you can visit in Highwood. The High Temple buys and sells magic items, healing potions and magic scrolls. The inventory changes from game to game. 4 magic items and 5 magic scrolls are available in Moonstone. The magic items are the Sword of Sharpness, which is the best sword in the game, the Ring of Protection, which increases your hit points, the Gem of Seeing, which allows you to view the contents of a lair, and the last one is the Talisman of the Worm. This magical cross will reduce the damage from dragons by half. This effect accumulates, so the more crosses you have, the less damage you suffer. Now to the magic scrolls. There is the Scroll of Acquisition, which allows you to take one object from another knight. Just use it, choose a knight and the object, bam, it's yours. This is the only magic scroll that will work all the time without any problems. With all the other scrolls there is a small chance that they are cursed, which means that the spell will backfire on the knight who used it. Next is the Scroll of Haste. It allows you to move twice as far as you normally could on a day. Cursed, you will only travel half your normal distance. The Scroll of the Hawk allows you to move to any location on the map, except the Valley of the Gods. Cursed, it teleports you to a random location on the map. The Scroll of the Worm forces the dragon to attack a knight of your choice. Cursed, you're number 1 on the dragon's menu. The last scroll is the Scroll of Protection. You can use it when you get attacked by another knight to avoid the battle. Cursed, you have to fight and your controls are reversed during this battle. One thing that I almost forgot to mention, also the Black Knights can use magical items and magic scrolls. This was the city of Highwood, and now to the city of Waterdeep. In Waterdeep you also have a merchant, a tavern and a healer, which are the same like in Highwood. But Waterdeep has no high temple, instead there is the home of Mithril the Mystic. He is renowned for his ability to lift a knight's soul to a higher cosmic plane. When your soul is returned to your body, you will find that one of your abilities is either raised or lowered by 1 point. So it is a gamble. According to the manual, you should at least pay 10 gold pieces to increase your chances. Beside the cities, there are 3 places left that you can visit. The Wizard Tower of Math, Stonehenge and the Valley of the Gods. Math's Tower is located in the northern wastelands. A visit to Math is a gamble like with Mithril the Mystic. You don't have to pay any gold, but it depends if Math is pleased or annoyed to see you. If he's pleased to see you, he will bestow upon you either a magic item, gold, or he raises one of your abilities by 1 point. But if he's annoyed by your insolence, he will turn you into a frog, which means that you can't move for 3 turns. You can't get attacked during that time, but you also can't defend your possessions, so there is a high chance that you will get robbed completely by the other knights. Stonehenge is located in the Great Forest. It can be used for healing purposes. If a knight offers a magic item or scroll, all his hit points get restored and he also gets an extra life. And finally, the Valley of the Gods. It is located in the center of the map and can be entered only if a knight collected all 4 keys. A knight who challenges the Guardian should at least be equipped with the strongest armor and sword. The Guardian looks like a combination of Medusa and a genie. It is fast, strong, shoots lightning and throws punches like a heavyweight champion. It also has the power to drain your ability points, and if you lose the fight, you lose 3 lives instead of 1. So without a doubt, this is the strongest enemy in the game. But if you are able to beat the Guardian, you'll be granted a Moonstone. To win the game and end your quest, you have to get to Stonehenge with the Moonstone at the right moon phase for the final ritual. There are 3 different Moonstones, each one is determined to a specific moon phase. Full moon, half moon, new moon. The moon phases change every 3rd turn, and during the proper moon phase the Moonstone will double your hit points. Control-wise, you play the game with a joystick and the controls are kept pretty simple. In combat, with the joystick you walk around, and while pushing the button and moving the joystick in one of the 8 directions, you attack either with the sword, block or throw one of the daggers. The game has some pretty good looking cartoonish graphics and also cool music and sound effects. What made this game special back in the days was of course the gore. In 1991 this game was one of the goriest games, or maybe even the goriest game available. One game that might came close to Moonstone in terms of violence would be Mortal Kombat, but that game was released 1 year later in 1992. But the violence in this game is, in my opinion, not disgusting or off-putting or anything. It's totally goofy and over the top. It adds a special charm to the game, and every time I play it, it reminds me of the famous Black Knight scene from Monty Python's and the Holy Grail.
None shall pass.
What?
None shall pass.
I have no quarrel with you, good Sir Knight, but I must cross this bridge.
Then you shall die.
I command you, as King of the Britons, to stand aside.
I move for no man.
So be it. Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
You liar.
Come on, you pansy.
Victory is mine.
Come on, then.
What?
How about you?
You are indeed brave, Sir Knight, but the fight is mine.
Oh, had enough, eh?
Look, stop that!
Chicken! Chicken! Right, I'll do you for that.
You what?
Come here.
What are you going to do, bleed on me?
I'm invincible.
You're a loony.
The Black Knight always triumphs. How about you? Come on, then. All right, we'll call it a draw.
In the end, for me, it's a pretty cool game. It's actually one of my favorite games of all time. I would highly recommend it, but only to those people who like those kind of action games. I mentioned in the beginning that the game was also released on the PC DOS. Now, I never played the PC version, but what I know about it is that the loading times are better on the PC. Then you can play the PC version with a joystick and a keyboard instead of just a joystick on the Amiga. The graphics are slightly better on the Amiga, and the music is a lot better on the Amiga. But instead of, except for those 4 things, both versions are actually identical. Today, Moonstone has become a real collector piece. It's pretty hard to find, and yeah, you would have to pay about between $150 to $350 US for a complete copy on eBay. So pretty expensive. So if you're interested in the game and you just want to play it, I would highly recommend that you try to find the ROMs online and then play the game on an Amiga emulator or DOS box. Okay, now we're at the end of my review of Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night. I hope you enjoyed the show. Maybe see you next time. Take care. Bye!